little pussy.
Hello everyone, and we are the Movie Meisters, and we just saw the movie Hardcore Henry.
Let me down easy. Let me down easy. Let me down easy. Let me down easy.
Matt, why did we watch this movie?
There's been a kind of renaissance in action movies, I think. At least I've hoped there might be. So I was like, well, Dredd was really good.
Yeah.
Mad Max was really good. I heard about this Hardcore Henry movie. Maybe action movies are just getting really good from a directorial perspective.
Well, for those of you unfamiliar with Hardcore Henry, it is a movie that is slightly based off of a music video where it was essentially just an action scene, some guy running around doing parkour and beating up some bad guys, all from the first-person perspective. And this is a feature-length version of that. Yeah, it was... I don't even know how to describe it. It's just, I had a lot of trouble staying awake.
This movie is a fucking tragedy.
Yeah, it's just...
The filmmaking technique is so good, and for the first, 15 minutes of the movie, I'm just, oh my god, how do they do this? How do they keep the camera that stable on somebody's head, running around doing all this stunts and practical effects and stuff? It's like, oh wow, how do they do that in one shot? Or how do they do that with the camera on the guy? It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
How well developed the technique is, considering there's not been a feature-length film doing this before, so they must have pioneered a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Wow, incredible. But it's just nothing. The action scenes, the plot, it's nothing.
Yeah, you're looking from the perspective of this guy who woke up, he has no memory, he's getting all these cybernetic implants, and he just so happens not to get the implant to allow him to speak. You're just following this character who doesn't talk and just going around.
Very video gamey, right?
After the first 15 minutes or so where you're kind of getting acclimated to the style of this movie, after that it just gets boring. Maybe if this was filmed like a traditional movie, maybe the action scenes could be interesting because it gets repetitive after the first 15 minutes. I don't know, man.
So I noticed two things. The first one is less important. Because they have to film everything from first-person perspective, everything seems to be in one continuous shot, and they have to cheat it to do cuts.
Right.
To cut from shot to shot. At the beginning, I was noticing, oh, that's really clever. I could detect when the cuts were, but they were good. Placed very precisely so that even if you noticed it, like I did, it doesn't interrupt the flow of the scene. But then increasingly throughout the movie, it got very noticeable. And it's sometimes in the middle of a tense chase sequence of you're trying to follow the guy he's chasing because you're looking directly at him, and it's boom, cut to a different scene. It's what? Why would it cut there? It must have been a technical limitation where they couldn't get the whole shot, so they had to make it two, and they couldn't make it work. Particularly in the final action sequence, he's trying to, a horde of people are coming after him. He's desperately trying to close a door, and it's he doesn't quite get it closed, and then it just hard cuts to the door already being closed. And he's pushing a desk in front of him. It's isn't that important to see the click of the door closing? That's
a very important detail.
But anyway, that's the minor one, because I think that can be overcome with multiplying the time you take to do all these shots, or doing some clever trickery. The big problem is that there's a way of directing a movie to cause suspense and tension in an action sequence that relies on the audience understanding the physical layout of the area.
Yes,
and
that's very important.
When you have solely first-person shots, you don't have access to it. So there's this long sequence where they put someone in an elevator who's vulnerable, and the elevator goes down. They spend the next 10 minutes, first-person camera swivels, there's a dude there, shoots him, or throws a grenade at him or something. Yeah. Over and over. Way into that sequence, minutes into it, he looks over and he sees the elevator going down. And it turns out this is a circular or rectangular hotel-like thing with floors. And he's been going down the floors finding these guys while the elevator has been lowering with the vulnerable person in it. That's a great action sequence, right? Yeah. Someone's going down the elevator very slowly. There's a bunch of armed people around, and you need to beat the elevator down by fighting these guys. But none of that was clear at all. The stakes of it, the situation, even the geometrical layout, the idea that the elevator was near the main character the whole time. incomprehensible. That's a great concept for an action sequence, but it's just poorly conveyed because of the constraints of doing the first person
That's it.
viewpoint.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if I have any way to fix it as long as
right.
as long as you keep that constraint. It's just difficult to even conceive of how you would shoot that.
Right.
Right, Private. It is our duty to ensure that no harm comes to the cripple. Understood? Follow on.
This is trying to be a very strong action movie. I mean, that's the basis of the whole thing. But the action scenes are boring. All right, we got to make this action-based movie. The plot really doesn't matter. If the action scenes are boring and you don't have any plot, you don't have any movie. I had no idea what was going on the whole time. We seem to see Charlton Copley die. He dies again. We see him again, completely different. I wasn't sure if we were supposed to pick up on that or if he was just like, oh, he's this super spy who's constantly changing and faking his death. At some point we find out, oh, he has control over avatars. But I didn't even get that. I was just so out
You've
of
got
it.
biologically grown people who can be controlled by other people through technology. You have cybernetic people who are super warriors who are brainwashed. You have psychic powers.
Right.
that cause the user to bleed out of their nose, which never came up again.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's like powers coming in, but the whole "it hurts me when I do it." That was just. There's all this crazy shit happening, and it is very much like a video game where a lot of shots in this movie I think are like directly inspired from video games, like grabbing a ledge and looking down and then looking back up and climbing over. It's like, how many times have I seen that in a first-person video game? And even like the sound effects of shotgun shells tinkling and stuff, it's very, very Doom. And you can just say, well, the plot doesn't actually make sense in the end about why they're training him to do it. Like, it doesn't make sense. But it's an action movie. Just like a video game has a dumb plot. Turn camera quickly, kill a dude.
Right.
Varied by clever ways that he can kill the guy. And I think in isolation, a lot of those would have been very effective. Like tearing the guy's fingers apart so his hand
that was
like
cool.
In the middle of a good action sequence, I'd be like, oh wow, that's a great effect and it adds a lot of punch. But kill a guy, kill a guy, kill a guy. It's just, it
gets tiring. Yeah. This is less interesting than watching someone play a first-person shooter because with a first-person shooter, you've got a clear idea of what you're supposed to do, and also every time our main character looks around, he looks in a billion different directions, so you get disoriented just from looking at the movie. Irritating.
Yeah, so early on, when the stakes are much lower, there's like two policemen in some kind of underground subway, I don't know what it was, but he looks one way and finally the guy, he turns back and the other guy's about to hit him and I'm like, oh, okay, so maybe that's going to be the way you build suspense. It's like you set up so something's happening over here, and then I need to turn and deal with this thing, but it's off screen.
Yeah.
So the audience is thinking, oh, that other guy's going to get it. He kills so many people so quickly, spinning in so many different directions. It's just like, who cares who's around? There's a whole part at the end where there's like a million guys coming in. And it's just over and over. Well, there's 50 guys behind him, but I don't feel suspense that at any moment one of those 50 guys is going to stab him through the head or whatever. Just because, I mean, he killed the last 25 of them. Probably going to kill the next 25.
Maybe it should be noted that this was produced by Timur Bekmambetov. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. He did this movie Wanted, starring James McAvoy, and he plays a secret agent with super skills and the ability to kill anybody because he's just born with it. His father was this great assassin and stuff like that. That is the correct way to do a movie like this. This is not. On the one hand, I want to applaud the effort. He wanted to try something different. It fell flat.
Yeah, I think it might be a good example if someone wants to know, like, what's the difference between great cinematography and a great director, right? For any individual shot, you could say, well, that's just extremely well crafted.
Yeah.
But in terms of the direction, like, what is the audience supposed to be thinking during this shot? How is this building suspense? How is this contributing to the action scene or the sequence of events? Who do we care about in this scene? Like, that's what... The director has to go beyond the cinematography and think about all those things. And then that feeds back and changes how it's shot.
This film's intention was to put you where the main character is, but by filming in this technique, it actually distances you more from the events that are happening. You look at those much better action movies like Mad Max. The reason you're in the moment is because of the cinematography, because of the situations that the characters are in. This just doesn't sell those things.
Yeah, and even basic dumb action movie stuff like the comeuppance for the villain at the end. There's this scene where you can tell you're supposed to be rooting for him, like, yeah, fuck you, lady,
Yeah.
but it's just like, I don't care about this
Yeah.
character. I don't care
Yeah.
about any of this.
You're not invested in anything that's happening, so it's just, eh. Well, anyway, those are our thoughts on the movie Hardcore Henry. Please don't make movies like this anymore. We are the Movie Meisters saying,
Cinema is not a slice of life, but a piece of cake.
thanks for watching.
How could you